A chilling haunted house, cursed amusement rides, and ancient native folklore await on this look at the ghost stories surrounding Oregon's iconic Enchanted Forest. Are you sure you're ready for this? Hey guys, and thanks for tuning in for this look into the history and hauntings of the Enchanted Forest. Now, personally, growing up in Oregon, this magical realm was something we always looked forward to every summer. Disneyland was great and all, but something about this theme park, which was literally built by hand and without the giant budgets of massive corporations, offered an entirely different and much more authentic experience. And honestly, some of its attractions definitely creeped me out a little when I was younger, so you can imagine my surprise and excitement when it blipped on my radar of potentially haunted places. Shrouded in chilling ghost stories, old hill folklore, and tales of real encounters with the mystical and magical, let's jump right in. The Enchanted Forest, which is placed just out of Turner, Oregon, is a sweeping, tree-enshrouded, fantasy-themed amusement park familiar to many long-standing Oregonian families and generations of their children, that, over its lengthy existence, has been tied to a range of ghost stories and fables just as mystical in nature as is its facade. Historically, in 1930, Enchanted Forest creator Robert Toft was born out of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. In 1935, and at only 5 years in age, his family would migrate over to Astoria, Oregon, and later, through his junior year in high school, he would move to Silverton, Oregon, after which he would graduate from Silverton High. Following his formative years, Roger would join the Navy and would serve through the Korean War. After the conflict, in 1954, he would marry one Mavis Bjork, and for around a year, the couple would own and operate a jewelry store out of Camas, Washington. Though when this venture failed to yield expected earnings, Roger would take a job with the Oregon State Highway Department instead as a draftsman and artist. For around a decade, the veteran and his family would get by out of Salem, Oregon, and would welcome 4 children into the world. However, through the 60s, it became gradually apparent to Roger that there was very little to do in the region in the way of good, clean family fun, and he began forming an idea, plans for an amusement park that would allow for him to utilize his creativity and imagination, and that would draw in both locals and tourists from far and wide. Though at the time, the Tofts lacked adequate funding for such a business, Roger persisted, saving every penny he could muster, and in 1964, he would make purchase of around 20 acres of land right off of I-5 for all of $4,000, which he'd make monthly payments on of only $50. Upon acquiring his plot, Roger would set to work on the construction of his dream park, funding his process with work through the highway department while fixing watches through the work week, and building park-related objects by hand in the evenings and weekends. Eventually, the Tofts' own backyard, which was often Roger's working stage, would become filled with mystical structures and storybook figures, and would play testament to his manifest dreams. Sadly, through the whole of Roger's process, friends and co-workers would down the vet's ideas, calling them foolish, and asking how work was going on Idiot Hill, but Toft would soldier on. Unfortunately, the banks would mirror these sentiments, and when the Tofts figured they needed around $2,000 extra, they would be rejected by basically every mainstream institution of the time, including their own bank, which had decided they would only lend out money in the park's name if the family had significant collateral, which at the time, they did not. Eventually, one bank took a chance on Roger, however, lending him the required funds to put the finishing touches on the Enchanted Forest. While the team estimated the final stretch of their journey in establishing the park's first section, Storybook Trail, would take only 2 years, in reality, it would take around 7 more years of dedicated work. Before, on Sunday, August 8th of 1971, the Tofts would hang a sign painted on butcher paper that read "Open" right on the fence. The first day of its opening, the Enchanted Forest charged $1 for adults and 50 cents for children, while offering its handful of employees $1.65 per hour, which was actually 5 cents over minimum wage at the time, and would welcome all of 75 visitors. However, by just the following week, crowd numbers would increase to over 1,000, and Roger's long-awaited dreams would be solidified into a reality. By the Forest's second season in 1973, profits were high enough to see Roger quit his job with the highway department, while wife Mavis would run the business end of the park until she was diagnosed with cancer, after which she would hand her duties down to their daughters, Susan and Mary, and would set to work on writing books surrounding their family and the business. Over the years, the Toft family would continue adding to their beloved theme park, with Toftville Western Town created during the park's second full year, the forest's iconic haunted house added in 1974, the comedy theater established for Susan Toft, who took pride in writing and directing fairy tale-based musical comedies, and the Ice Mountain bobsleds designed in 1983. In 1988, construction was started on the Old European Village and the Jolly Roger Light Show. Notably, for this area, original plans were to create a restaurant and stage for Susan to hold her musical performances at. However, the family slowly came to realize that the hillside was almost perfect for a waterfall. And 2 years later, the light show would open and was graced by original music and light choreography by the prodigal Toft daughter, Susan. In 1993, the Old European Village would be expanded upon, and Toft's son Ken would begin designing and implementing animatronic figures to the park. In 1996, the iconic log ride was established, following which the kiddie bumper boats, Ferris wheel, and frog hopper were installed, and in 2002, the crazy bumper cars were constructed. More recently, in 2006, the challenge of Mondor was introduced, in which the wizard Mondor sends riders on a slow-moving, engaging adventure to save the Drumlins by using infrared guns to fight off creatures of the dark controlled by the evil King Zardon, all while keeping individual riders' scores, awarding daily top scores with a shiny medallion, and actually engraving all-time top scores onto a plaque at the entrance. In 2007, the Speedway bumper cars and the tiny Toon Train, in which riders are carried through miniature villages crafted by Roger himself, were added, and 2017 would see the introduction of a brand new carousel. The Enchanted Forest remains open into the present, offering a magical and unparalleled Pacific Northwestern theme park experience rivaling the likes of much larger parks like Busch Gardens or even Disneyland, while catering to the likes of hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Chillingly, while the forest's weathered old grounds are widely recognized for their storybook-like charm, in recent years, they've also become somewhat infamous for their purported range of very real hauntings, and both staff and visitors to the site have documented a wide range of supernatural happenings within, including phantom whispers or old-timey music heard on the wind and without source, instances of animatronics acting off-script or behaving erratically, such as the three bears growling loudly and more aggressively than their programming should allow, and the sense of old-timey cologne, perfume, or tobacco smoke that emanate from empty spaces. In the Crooked House, which, just as its name suggests, is an abode with randomly tilted floors, walls, and ceilings that's designed to disorient, several have described the constant feeling of being watched or even nudged and gently pushed by unseen hands, and recordings taken within often yield strange voices or chilling EVPs, while those enjoying the log ride have told of spectral riders that are there at the beginning but that are always gone by the time the ride concludes, as well as of the sensations of having their hair played with or tugged on. Interestingly enough, long ago, lands that now hold Salem and some of the surrounding area once played host to the conflict of Battle Creek, in which settlers would fight against various Willamette Valley tribes native to the region, and many believe that energy lingering from the dispute remains, with some telling of sightings of apparitions in attire matching either that of early Oregonian inhabitants or traditional native garb, who were there for only moments before fading away. One attraction within the Enchanted Forest that many find more ominous is that of the Dwarf Caves. Though this demesne is designed primarily for children, those who have braved their bounds have told of getting turned around or lost, or stumbling upon tunnels that aren't supposed to exist, as well as the unnerving feeling that the caverns are shrinking, resulting in some almost getting stuck. Though it's one of the park's newest attractions, the aforementioned Challenge of Mondor is not immune to the forest's otherworldly phenomena, and those embarking on the wizard's adventure have described random bouts of dizziness, instances of props moving inexplicably, orbs that are both captured in photography and visible to the naked eye, and the sensations of someone or something unseen brushing up against them. Reported across the whole of the park and confined to no area in particular are accounts of employees arriving to the locked park to find certain rides or attractions are already prepared and turned on, a strong feeling of disorientation or documentation of visitors finding themselves in random locations with no explanation as to how they got there, and perturbing stories in which children have recounted being taken from the park to an actual magical realm by very real fairy folk for great lengths of time, only to later be returned to the exact spots from which they were originally snatched up to find that in reality, no time had passed at all. Several of the park's more notable haunts lie within the Old European Village. In the Gathering Hall, both staff and visitors have reported objects moving on their own, and accounts of names that are called out by disembodied voices. While in Geppetto's Toys, Trinkets, and Treasures shop, personal electronics are known to behave erratically, and several have reported finding personal effects that were previously in their pockets or bags placed amongst the store's many oddities. Additionally, at the Jolly Roger Inn and during the light shows, many have told of odd lighting patterns that weren't planned, and instances of visitors experiencing visions that are seemingly of past events. Last but not least, being the oldest portion of the park, Storybook Lane is often also considered its most paranormally charged. Within Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole, many have reported eerie whispers heard from darkened areas, eyes moving on various pieces of art, and encounters with strange, almost inhuman entities. And in the park's iconic haunted house, accounts of objects moving around on their own, of disembodied footsteps and voices, of extreme cold patches, and of shadowy figures that are not part of the already fairly spooky attraction are all but common. With its astounding history and wealth of magical attractions, the Enchanted Forest stands as a testament to the enduring dreams and determination of Roger Toft, whose vision transformed 20 acres into a cherished haven of imagination and wonder. However, alongside its storied past, classic ghost stories and Oregonian folklore continue to fascinate and unsettle visitors, creating an atmosphere of enchantment and intrigue, where the lines between fantasy and reality blur amongst its ancient trees. Thanks for joining me in exploring the history and hauntings of the one and only Enchanted Forest. If you enjoyed hearing my ghost stories, subscribe to my channel, like this upload, and share me with anyone you feel could use a good scare. Until next time.